All right. Good morning, good evening, good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen, citizens of YouTube. This is Pastor Dow. I wanted to come on here just for a moment, and I wanted to talk about the difficulty of being able to calculate the feast days. Now, while we're not making any excuses whatsoever at all, you're probably going to run up against, who knows, maybe 5 or 6 different total dates concerning on which camp or whoever you follow. I believe that the manuscripts concerning the feast days, as was given to us by Moshe and the prophets, was spot on. I think the difficulty lies today not in the manuscripts, but in the interpretation or the ones who interpret. Since then, we have had the sun come back or turn, go back 10 degrees. We have had a lot of shaking of the earth. Times have literally gotten off. The North Pole is about 2 or 3 degrees off right now. And so the times are getting very, very difficult to comprehend and to calculate as we go forward. But the biggest hang up of them all, which we can get close to the new moon. And of course, then you have the arguments out there. Is it conjunction? Or is it the sliver? And of course, all these are nonsensical arguments. All it really takes is study. Now, I've been both ways. I don't mind telling you that throughout the years, as the Most High Yah, in His grace and mercy, has decided and determined to give me light to all situations. That's the reason why I clearly make this statement over and over again, especially concerning the feast days. Since we have been removed from our land, our culture and our heritage has been taken away from us, and we have had to try to restore everything that has been lost because the seed of Japhet, through Ashkenaz, has confused and brought about a bunch of confusion. And I definitely make sure I try not to follow anything that they say because they are just totally off. And a lot of Messianics will probably take offense to that, as well as Israelites, but it's just the way that I see it through the Holy Scriptures. I would much rather take my chances with Moses and the prophets and what the apostles have written as opposed to men today. But let me say this to you. Probably the time in Scripture that gives us the greatest difficulty or degree of difficulty to interpret is the Feast of First Fruits. And, the reason why that the Feast of the First Fruits gives us a lot of difficulty in interpreting today is because there's literally no fixed time or no fixed day. Because the Feast of First Fruits always depend upon the allotted time whenever Pesach or Passover is following or falls, and so that depends on whenever that Shabbat day or that Sabbath day. Now I've seen clearly that there's times that the Passover could fall. It usually falls somewhere right before that weekend. Again, don't think for 1 minute when you read the Bible and then you look at this Gregorian calendar or this Julian calendar or the Enoch calendar or Henoch calendar or whatever calendar you choose to follow. Because after all, we're all doing just the best we can to come to the knowledge of the truth. And we try to use the knowledge and wisdom that the Most High gives us in order to get these things locked down. But I think that each year I get closer and closer. And like I've said, we've done the feast days every which way that you can possibly think of. We have literally done it. I think we improve a little bit more each year because of our hunger and thirst after righteousness, the Most High Yah gives us light for these situations. So let me go ahead and go into here just for a moment and give you the understanding of being able to, and I'm not going to use a bunch of Hebraic terms. I'm just going to speak blunt, straightforward, because I don't want to bring a bunch of confusion upon the people, okay? But let's look at the Feast of First Fruits. Now, the Feast of First Fruits and the way that you can tell how to calculate this. Some people do it after the Feast of Unleavened Bread. they calculate the first Sabbath. And then others do it even if it's in the midst of the feast of unleavened bread. They do it on that Sabbath. Well, who's right? Who's right? What does the book says? Well, the Bible does have a lot to say about it. As a matter of fact, let me pull up the Bible right here for a second, and let's see clearly what the Bible has to say about it. It says in Leviticus, the 23rd chapter, starting at 10 verses, says, "Speak unto the children of Israel, and say unto them, when you be come into the land which I give unto you, you shall reap the harvest thereof. Then you shall bring forth a sheaf, first fruits of your harvest unto the priest." Now, verse 11 is what gives us the key. And this is the reason why we have to exercise self-autonomy. This is the reason why we have to look behind, because even the calendar we had last year is going to change significantly from the calendar days that we have this year. And we have to always make sure that our heart is pliable to be able to adjust to God's will as he gives us understanding as we go forward. Because remember, we're going from favor to favor. That's what we're doing. We're growing in grace and we're growing in knowledge, and we're going from favor to favor of the Most High. Verse 11 is the kicker here, and I'm going to show you the reason why. It says, "And ye shall wave the sheaf before Yahweh to be accepted for you on the morrow after the Sabbath." Now, what we have to do is we have to understand two things here. Number one, the feast are holy days. These are set apart, appointed times and seasons of the Most High Yahweh. They are not feast of Israel. They're not the feast of the Hebrews. They're not definitely and certainly not the feast of the Jews. These are the set apart, appointed times and seasons of the Most High Yahweh, and we are invited to attend his feast. And when he says that, it says, when you wave the sheaf before Yahweh to be accepted for you on the morrow, look at this, after the Sabbath, the first thing we need to do is figure out what Sabbath this is, because there's a Shabbat, a Sabbath that we gather every single week. And then there are Sabbaths, which are the holy feast days. And then translation, sometimes we'll get Sabbaths plural and mix it up with the feast Sabbaths, because if you go with the word that the English says, it will literally bring confusion. But when you start looking behind the English words and seeing what the Hebraic is giving us, then it's pretty easy to comprehend. But it's only easy to comprehend once it's given to us. Now, for instance, when you go to the commandments over here, and let's go over to the commandments for a second. Exodus chapter 20. And let's go here to verse 11. It says, 6 days Yahweh made the heaven and earth, the sea and all that is in them is. He rested the 7th day, wherefore Yahweh blessed the Sabbath. That Sabbath day is the same Sabbath in creation, which is the Shabbat. And when you look at the Hebrew rendering of it, meaning the script and the way that it is written, you'll see that Sabbath, the 7676, is the same Shabbat. When we get over here to Leviticus, 23rd chapter, and we look at verse 11, it's the same Sabbath as the Sabbath was in creation. So it's not talking about the holy feast Sabbath, it's talking about the Sabbath. So when it is telling us, in order to observe the feast of first fruits, listen to what it says in Leviticus 23:11. "And ye shall wave the sheaf before Yahweh to be accepted for you on the morrow after the Shabbat, Sabbath, and the priest shall wave it." So the truth is, the way we should be calculating the feast days, especially this feast right here that seems to not have any particular day appointed to it or allotted to it, because it's all dependent upon the time frame of unleavened bread and Passover, is that we should be counting the feast on that Sabbath. Now, if we try to lock it down like in the days of the Messiah, well, we know he was crucified in the midst of the week, and we know good and well when he rose. Of course, that teaching is on my website as well. That's in a perfect timing. But since then, we have been under many different captivities: the Roman captivity, the Byzantine Empire captivity, and now we're in the American or the European American captivity, and they and the scholars have done nothing but brought confusion about this, and so here we are again fighting against the seed of Japhet, Ashkenazi, in order to restore the things that has been lost. I hope that some way somehow that has helped you in some understanding. And to solidify it, if you go down to Leviticus 23 verse 16, it also says, even until the morrow after the seventh Sabbath. All right. And then we see again, it's the Hebrews 76:76. And then you shall number 50 days. And you shall offer a new meat offering unto Yahweh. And so the Feast of First Fruits would actually fall or actually start on the nightfall, Roman April the 4th, which is really the beginning of the 5th. It's really the beginning of the 5th. So that's when the Feast of First Fruits will start, and then from there we'll calculate. I said all this because I'm going to post the dates for the feast days, and I'm going to put them up. I'm going to go ahead and send them up to Brother Steve there in Canada, and then I'm going to speak about it on this Blog Talk Radio Friday night, 7 p.m. Central Standard Time. I'll be on there talking about the feast days of the Most High Yah this year for us Israelites, the set apart appointed times. And so I'm going to talk to Brother Steve. He's going to go ahead and get started on the calendar. And I'm going to go ahead and speak about it, this blog talk, and hopefully there will be no more confusion, because everybody wants to put in their time for this year for vacation for the feast. I hope I was able some way, somehow, I hope I kept it as clear as possible and simple as possible, and easy and simple enough for a child to be able to understand. But that's how we're going to be calculating the Feast of First Fruits, which again, that is probably the one that the people have the most difficulty coming up with when it comes to calculating the feast. So you're not going to get any 2 or 3 groups to agree. You probably won't even get people to agree in assembly. But remember, whatsoever is not of faith is sin. And that's what we do. We live by faith and not by sight. And we're doing the best that we can do with the information that is presented to us. We hope that some way, somehow, we were able to bring some edification to you. And I like to say shalom. Y'all have a wonderful day.